It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Yes, here is Rob Carson. How are you? Podcast number 76. Recorded on the 18th of April, 2017. A lot of stuff to get to. A little bit of breaking news, if you are listening on the 18th of April. Several have been killed in California. A shooting spree. Man who uses the alias Black Jesus was arrested Tuesday for going on a shooting spree, killing 3 white men in Fresno, California. Corey Ali Muhammad shouted Allahu Akbar, God is great, in Arabic, and he was being taken into custody. Killed 3 white men. Mr. Muhammad is also being held in connection with Thursday's murder of a security guard who was also white. Outside of Motel 6 in central Fresno, Mr. Muhammad is facing 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. So we got a little combination of 2 things here. We got a hate crime against white people, and we have a terrorist attack. This guy calls himself Black Jesus, so you've also got the possibility of, in fact, the most assured possibility that he is going to plead insanity. And he probably is. But don't you have to be insane to commit a terrorist attack? Good news today, Steve Stevens, the Cleveland murder suspect, the Facebook killer, killed himself. So we didn't have to do it. The state didn't have to do it. The police didn't have to do it. A good Samaritan didn't have to do it. He did. I'm glad. This guy was such a creep. Killed a 74-year-old man. Just essentially to watch him die, for lack of a better cliche. Robert Goodwin, 74 years old. This happened Sunday morning, Easter morning. And we'll get into his family and how graceful they are. But this guy just chose this older man out of the fact that he was walking down the street and killed him. I'm glad the son of a bitch is dead, to be quite honest. I am glad the son of a bitch is dead. I'm going to share some of the thoughts from the family of the gentleman who was killed. But let's salute the heroes in here. A lot of times we make fun of McDonald's employees. Well, it appears that some McDonald's employees may have gotten in touch with authorities and were able to stop this guy from continuing his killing spree. Here is a report from CNN featuring the McDonald's owner. You see the Facebook killer stopped at McDonald's, get a 20-piece and or a 6-piece. I guess it was a 6-piece with fries, and they delayed his order, allowing authorities to be notified. Heroes.
I came through drive-through, placed an order, got to the first window where he pay, and the drive-through employee that was working at the time recognized him or thought, noticed that the car was Ohio tags on it and it was a white Fusion, and took his money, and he pulled to the next window. Meanwhile, she stepped out of there and called the state police right away. And I pulled my front drive-through girl out of the window and had myself and my supervisor present at the window, and basically just told him it was going to be a minute for his fries, which it wasn't really. We were just trying to make sure she got in contact with the state police, and he didn't want to wait for the fries, which was fine. He took his 6-piece, didn't want any money back, and headed out onto Buffalo Road. And about the minute he turned right on Buffalo Road, the state police was right behind him at that point.
And they were right behind him. And the police approached this creep's vehicle. And the creep apparently got out of the car. One trooper performed a pit maneuver, which is ramming the car to disable it. The vehicle was spinning out of control. Stevens pulled a pistol out, shot himself in the head. So goodbye. Goodbye. He's been captured. Well, he's dead, thankfully. Let's give a little round of applause to the McDonald's worker making minimum wage, who was alert enough to stop this man's terror spree from happening. CNN did an interview with the family of Robert Goodwin Sr., and I just thought this was absolutely amazing. This happened, I guess, on Monday. Anderson Cooper was talking to them, and Debbie Godwin is one of the daughters that responded during the interview. Debbie Godwin, Tanya Godwin Baines, the man's daughters, were interviewed. And one day after their father being murdered, I can't say, no, I wouldn't have responded with such grace. I wouldn't have. Agnostics and atheists will go, that's foolhardy, but I don't. I think it's an amazing show of grace. Here's a little bit from the family the day after their father was murdered in cold blood.
They're listening. What do you want them to know? Obviously, you want them to turn themselves in, but what would you say to them?
I would say turn yourself in. That would be number one. I mean, because although, I do believe in forgiveness, I do believe in the law, meaning when you break the law, there's a penalty for breaking the law. And this man broke the law by taking my father's life.
Wow.
And so although I forgive him, there is still a penalty that he must pay for what he did to my dad. And
how do you forgive someone who kills your father the day after they kill your father? I don't know. I don't know how you could have that kind of grace, to be quite honest. I wouldn't.
So I would want him to turn himself in. And you know what? I believe that God would give me the grace to even embrace this man and hug him.
Jeez.
Without anything. I truly do. It's just the way my heart is, and it's the right thing to do. And so, I just would want him to know that even in his worstest state, that he's loved, by God, that God loves him, even in the bad stuff that he did to my dad, that he's still loved, and that he has some worthwhile, even though he's going to have to go through many things to get better. There's worth in him, and as long as there's life in him, there is hope for him too.
Graceful, unbelievable. I was cheering that the guy would get shot, and my cheering came true. I couldn't do this. There's no way. I'm not sure if they're feeling well. It takes an amazing person to be able to, the day after your dad is killed, forgive the person and look at them through the eyes of God and through Christianity. Here's a little bit more from the family. Unreal.
The thing that I would take away the most with my father is he taught us about God, how to fear God, how to love God, and how to forgive. Yes. And each one of us forgive the killer, the murderer.
You do.
We want to wrap our arms around him.
We absolutely do. We don't. I honestly can say right now that I hold no animosity in my heart against this man.
Wow.
Because I know that he's a sick individual. I know that, because of his sickness, whatever evil overtook him that caused him to do this to my dad, is not him. It wouldn't be something he would typically do. And I promise you, I could not do that if I did not know God. If I didn't know him as my God and my Savior, I could not forgive that man.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know how you, I don't know how you do it. This is beyond me. And I'm kind of at a loss for words, because I think this is, while I'm talking about the day's events during the podcast, This is something that to me is so unbelievable about this story. I don't know if it makes me less of a person. Of course it does. I was glad. I said, rotten hell, you son of a bitch. When I saw that the guy shot himself, I was glad. This family is unbelievable. Honestly, they are unbelievable. Robert Goodwin had visited his son, Robert Goodwin Jr., on Easter morning, and said, I'll see you guys next time, and went out to look for aluminum cans. He's a retired guy, the foundry worker, 9 children, 13 grandchildren. This is what he does. He collects aluminum cans after work. This Steve Stevens approached him, live video, said, I'm going to kill this man here. Walks up to him and says, can you do me a favor? Can you say Joy Lane? Joy Lane, Godwin responded, appearing confused. Yeah. She's the reason why this is about to happen to you. He raised the gun, fired the trigger. The camera spun around. When the picture came back into frame, Godwin's body was on the pavement. Unbelievable. What an evil SOB. What a gift it is that there are people on the planet like this family. Unfortunately, one man, the man who taught these women to be so graceful, Robert Godwin, is no longer with us, and God bless him. So I know it's a serious way to start, but I just, there was something about that story, guys, that just, tore me up. All right. Let's move on to some other things. You know those big Trump tax protests that happened on, Saturday? They were bought and paid for. And I told you this. Nobody gives a rat's behind about Donald Trump's income taxes, particularly after the faceplant that Rachel Maddow did on MSNBC when she found out that Donald Trump in, 2010, paid much less in taxes than Barack Obama and much less than the socialist Bernie Sanders, who would have you pay 65%. Dead. President Donald Trump took to Twitter on Sunday, calling for an investigation into who paid for the small organized rallies on Saturday. There were anti-Trump tax day marches held in Washington and 60 other locations, and nobody gives a crap because they're bought and paid for. Organizers of the march claimed to be ordinary Americans, community organizers, advocates, and people from all walks of life and all backgrounds joining together to raise our voices and send a bold message to this administration. Yeah, it turns out the website for the tax march listed 8 groups, 6 of which are funded by Soros or tied to Soros. American Federation of Teachers, Americans for Tax Fairness, Center for Popular Democracy, Indivisible Project, MoveOn.org, Our Revolution, and the Working Families Party. According Americans for Tax Fairness is also a recipient of a grant from Soros Open Society Foundations. So, yeah, like I said, bought and paid for. The American Federation of Teachers, Educational Foundation, nonprofit arm of the American Federation of Teachers, financed by the Strategic Opportunities Fund of Soros Open Society Foundations. Okay? All of these are bought and paid for. There's nothing behind this that's honest. Nobody cares. Another tax march organizer is the recently formed Indivisible Project in February. They found out that Indivisible leaders are openly associated with groups financed by Soros. Soros reportedly has ties to more than 50 partners with that idiotic leftist women who hate Donald Trump and voted for Hillary Clinton and are pro-choice Women's March, which happened. Rabid leftists. Rabid leftists at that group. So it's a fake. It's a fake. Charles Krauthammer says that the issue of Donald Trump's taxes is a dead parrot. I couldn't agree more. But on Fox News, talking to Ainsley Earhart about these tax protests, Ainsley was joined by the Federalist's Molly Hemingway and, of course, NPR's very left-leaning Mara Liasson, who makes a lot of money on the public dole. Here they are talking about Donald Trump's tax, his tax forms, his tax returns, all of this stuff, and how it, I think, personally, non-issue.
No, this topic is not over. Because he won the election does not mean that somehow it was a referendum on whether he should release his taxes. Every president has done it. His 2016 return is not being audited. How could it be? It probably.
Why, honestly, defund NPR. Defund NPR. Everybody there, they're a bunch of leftists. Washington, D.C., NPR, they just built a $300 million facility a couple years ago. They got people there who have producers. One show has 15 producers. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars. The rest of us, in the meantime, I worked in Washington, D.C., had a chair that was held together by duct tape for 8 years. Defund NPR. for a variety of reasons. A, they have big numbers in cities as far as listenership. They beg for money. They sell advertising. And then their bottom line, everything is covered up with your taxpayer money, defund NPR, and they're leftists.
I don't know if he's already sent it in.
We don't know that yet.
We don't know that
Actually,
yet.
I do know that it did, meaning it all presidential returns
All
are
presidential
audited.
returns are
so
audited.
it will
That's
be audited.
actually true. As a matter of course, you're absolutely.
And by the way, in the state of New York, Donald Trump is audited every year. The state of New York is very punitive when it comes to auditing. I worked for a man named Rush Limbaugh. Every year that he lived in New York, he was selected by the state of New York for audit. Donald Trump, as a Republican and as a rich person in general, audited every year.
Right, but that doesn't mean that after the
nothing to
audit,
do with-
it could be released. And if he wanted to release his tax returns, he could. And what was interesting about the briefing today is they didn't go back to their previous position that, he'll release them as soon as the audit is over.
You actually can release the return that's under audit, and
Nixon
other
did
people
it.
have done it, so he could do it. And the reason why it's important is because people need to understand where money is coming from to determine whether there are conflicts of interest, particularly for someone who has so many conflicts. It helps to have that level
And by the way, that's Molly Hemingway.
of transparency.
I mean,
At the
you're
same
arguing
time-
for it, but you think it'll ever happen?
No, and I think actually that Rachel Maddow incident where she released the 2 pages of tax returns kind of took the air out of that balloon.
Yeah.
As people saw that he was paying taxes at least that 1 year at a high dollar amount, and I just don't think the energy's there anymore.
Ever happen?
Never. This issue is dead. It's a dead parrot.
It is a dead parrot. Nobody cares. I just told you the latest national march. Aren't you getting kind of tired of this crap? This national march crap for things that nobody gives a crap about. I mean, honestly, who cares? You had the anti-Trump inauguration day leftists show up and wreck Washington D.C. and burn limousines and wreck Starbucks and banks. Then you had the Women's March, which again I already told you, so leftist Women's March of pro-life women or pro-choice women who want to exclude women who believe in pro-life. Hillary voters, Trump haters, and leftists. 50 leftist groups. And every few weeks you're gonna see some sort of an idiotic march that nobody gives a crap about. You've got Republican town halls being populated by leftists who are coming in with talking points, and now you've got and it wasn't even the 15th of April, because the 15th of April, well, it wasn't 15th, it was the weekend, and it was a load of crap. Nobody cares. Man, I said crap a lot. I apologize. But I mean, how many more of these marches are we going to have to go through? There are an opportunistic group of people who are going to protest no matter what. Now, nobody's protesting the giant carbon footprint that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are making as they party with Bruce Springsteen, Tom Hanks on David Geppen's super yacht, the Rising Sun. They're hanging out. Michelle, showing off her white shorts and a black tank top, looking fabulous, doing selfies on the deck of this, now it's about a $500 million, 454-foot long yacht. It was a $300,000 or $300 million yacht before, but now apparently it's worth more than that. Apparently Oprah stood out in a bright yellow day dress. People thought it was a sale. That's the only thing. But now they're hanging out with millionaires and billionaires, and they're asking you to drive a little car, and you're asking you to watch your carbon footprint. And they tried forever to shut down coal plants and make cars unsafe. And they're partying like rock stars, because this is what happens in this country now. When you reach the level of the political elite, you become so ungodly, filthy rich, even though you failed completely in the private sector. This thing, this yacht is 454 feet long. This after a month in French Polynesia, hanging out on an island that Marlon Brando used to live on. This is what American politics are these days, kids. You use poison light bulbs in your house. You drive a crappy little car. You get one of those tiny houses. But if you have made it through Washington, D.C., no matter what you've done, you are set. You are set for life. Donald Trump says he hasn't softened his stance on China just because he's willing to cooperate with President Xi Jinping on confronting North Korea. He was being interviewed on, I guess this is Fox and Friends. And Ainsley Earhart asked him if he'd softened on it. And here's the deal. I mean, you're seeing a lot of ebb and flow. You're seeing a lot of give and take. You were seeing a lot of push and shove. I don't know. It's the art of the deal. It's the art of the deal. You start off by playing hardball, and then you can soften on things when your adversary or, business partner or whatever softens their stance. It's a dance. It's a dance. Here's Donald Trump on if he's softening toward China.
To the United States, the president.
About China, some in the media are saying you've softened your stance on China. Have they helped with the relationship with North Korea?
Ainsley, I didn't soften my stance. Look, China came to the United States, the president, I really developed a very good relationship with. I think he's a terrific person. I really got to know him very well over a 2-day period. We were together hours and hours and hours by ourselves. We had a 15-minute scheduled meeting, and it lasted for 3 hours, and the same thing happened the next day. We have a good chemistry together. He understands it's a big problem. He's working on it. Now, What am I going to do? Start a trade war with China in the middle of him working on a bigger problem, frankly, with North Korea? So I'm dealing with China with great respect.
It's a dance. It's a dance.
I have great respect for him. We'll see what he can do. Now, maybe he won't be able to help. That's possible. I think he's trying, but maybe he won't be able to help. And that's a whole different story. So we'll see what happens. No, but, somebody said currency manipulation. What am I going to do? In the middle of him talking with North Korea, I'm going to hit them with currency manipulation? This is the fake media that just does a number.
Okay. So Donald Trump listen, currency manipulation happens with China. They do a lot of crap. They steal a lot of our intellectual property. They've done this for years. But this is a dance. Donald Trump is working with them to stop North Korea from further developing their nuclear capabilities. In the middle of this, he's going to continue to hound China about currency manipulation? No. Now, the message has been sent to China, by the way. The message has been sent to China. Anytime you sit down at Mar-a-Lago with the most powerful person in the world, the president of the United States, and the president over cake tells you, hey, here's the deal. We're going to bomb the crap out of a Syrian air base where sorties carrying chemical weapons were flying out, killing civilians. We're just going to do that. You want some more cake? I think it sent a real powerful message to the president of China that we're probably going to do the same thing to North Korea. They're not going to put up with it. Donald Trump has surrounded himself by people who are who have expertise in what they do. And when I wasn't a Donald Trump supporter originally, I'll be honest, I was not. My last choice. And before that, it was Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, whatever. But the thing that buoyed me was the possibility that he was saying the things I wanted to hear in the last 2 months of his campaign, which I really appreciated, 2 or 3 months. And B, I just knew in my heart, as a great businessman, you have to surround yourself with people who are experts at what they do. Donald Trump is not an expert in drywall. Donald Trump is not an expert in stonework. Donald Trump is not an expert in foundation work. Donald Trump finds the best people and they build the buildings. He handles the buying of the buildings. Somebody else handles the paperwork. And I had a feeling that if you're going to succeed in government, and if you're going to bring some of the conventions of the private sector to government, which many consider to be futile, you surround yourself with the people who know it best. You're not an expert on the military. You're not an expert on foreign policy. You're not an expert on a lot of things. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Presidency of the United States is meant to be a civilian in the White House. Unlike Barack Obama, Donald Trump said, I don't know everything. I can't make the decisions. I don't have the arrogance. And I'm not saying Donald Trump isn't arrogant. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's a pretty narcissistic guy. But Barack Obama poo-pooed what his advisors were telling him, what military experts were telling him, what foreign policy experts were telling him in favor of this worldview. That was bullcrap. That was absolute bullcrap. Consequently, the world's in a much worse place. New Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez received a rude welcome at the DNC's Come Together Fight Back tour in Portland, Maine. Pardon me. DNC's a mess. It's a mess. They've lost hundreds and hundreds of seats around the country, governorships. The 10 most popular governors in the country are Republicans. They are a mess right now. Hillary Clinton defeated, Donald Trump elected. Then they bring in this guy, Tom Perez, after Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the DNC, skewed the process toward Hillary Clinton, ultimately took Bernie Sanders out of the race. They cheated. They gave Hillary Clinton her questions for the debates. They favored her, and then they got rid of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, bringing the even further left guy, Tom Perez, who, please keep going left, guys. I love when the Democrat Party goes left. But unfortunately, the people in the crowd want to go even further left, and they want to support Bernie Sanders. Now, if you think Bernie Sanders is the savior of the Democrat Party in the next election, if he lives that long, and I'm just saying, there's a good chance not. Anyway, so they're trying to fire up the base. Claire Cummings, the leader of the Maine Young Democrats, told the crowd about Bernie Sanders and then mentioned this Tom Perez's name. Democrats, at least in this town, and this is on one of the coasts, Maine Young Democrats. Bernie Sanders' socialist policies, big on the coasts. Maine, New York, California, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They still want to see this further left movement of the Democrat Party, which is, by the way, the reason Donald Trump was elected, why many people voted for Donald Trump in the last election who are Democrats. Here's the exchange when Bernie Sanders' name was mentioned by Claire Cummings and when Tom Perez's name was mentioned. Bernie.
You guys, I still have 2 minutes left, all right? Like, come on. All right? So maybe you came, though, because you're curious about the new DNC chairman and the future of the Democratic policy.
Boo! We don't care.
Or you guys, I still have 2 minutes left, all right? Like, come on. All right? So maybe you came, though, because you're curious about the new DNC chairman and the future of the Democratic policy.
No. Not even remotely interested. All they care about is Bernie. And as far as I'm concerned, let it happen. Huma Abedin, ready to tell all in a new book. $2 million is what she's asking. She, of course, is the estranged wife of disgraced ex-Congressman Anthony Weiner. Now, she's wanting to work with him, and I think she's taking her cue from Hillary Clinton because her husband molested women and paid them off to some degree, and she stayed with him for political reasons. I don't understand why Anthony Weiner is still in the relationship with Huma Abedin. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, there's a reason for it. His name is Anthony Weiner, I guess. Maybe that's part of it. Anyway, I was reading a piece. I think this was in Hot Air or Breitbart about Anthony Weiner. And, I mean, what are you going to get from a book with Huma Abedin unless she decides to speak out about the servers that Hillary Clinton had or some more sordid details of their wrecked marriage and her husband's sexting of 15-year-olds. What are you going to get out of Huma Abedin for $2 million? Most people don't know who she is. Most people don't know her name. Why would it be worth? I guess the thing is, when you're a Washington D.C. insider, $2 million is pretty small potatoes, right? $2 million is small potatoes. Oh, I'm going to wrap things up with one other story. 75-year-old man died peacefully at his Oregon home earlier this month when his ex-wife lied to him that President Trump was impeached from office. Michael Garland Elliot passed away on April the 6th, surrounded by caregivers, neighbors, and friends. Teresa Elliott, 68, is described as the deceased's best friend. Last words spoken to him were done by her over the phone. Now listen to this. I knew it was his very, very last moments, she told the New York Daily News. I knew that it would bring him comfort. Upon hearing the lie that Teresa Elliott said that he was being impeached, he took his final gentle breath. His earthly work concluded, his obituary read. Jeez, I'm not laughing at the guy's death. I'm just saying, wow, this is going to send you off to the grave. Your final thoughts on the earth are knowing that someone you despise and who was elected has been impeached, even though it was a lie. Mr. Elliott lived in a suburb of Portland, died from congestive heart failure, and his health had been declining for many years. The ex-wife, described him as a news junkie, said that he hated his effing guts regarding to Trump. Teresa and Michael divorced 20 years ago. She told the Daily News that she always cared for him and visited often. She said she plans to hold a memorial for him at the Reserve Golf Club in Portland in August, where he was a founding member. His obituary says that he spent countless weekends doing what he loved most with like-minded friends, meaning that he only hung out with people who agreed with him, which is kind of a metaphor for his life, that he needed to hear that Donald Trump was being impeached as his final thought. Wow. I'm sorry. You know what? You are way too serious about politics and ideology if that's what you want to hear as your final words. I've got friends and neighbors who are opposite of me politically. I love them. It's not that important. Asked if she regretted telling him the false news, she replied, no. If I could leave him with a happy piece of news, then why wouldn't I? And maybe by the end, it won't turn out to be a lie. Unbelievable. Mr. Elliott, by the way, was born in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he lived until after college, and he moved to Long Beach, California. He joined a semi-pro basketball team that toured the country and played exhibition games. In the games, he was dressed as a woman, and his name was Skaggy Maggie. Skaggy. All right, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for the show. The show made possible today by Dixie Chopper Lawnmowers, and they are terrific. Grass Monsters KC is the local distributor of those if you live in Kansas City. They are terrific lawnmowers. They are industrial. They are consumer models as well. The Silver Eagle is what I have in the garage. They are American built. They are spectacular. Spectacular. They also have, by the way, a new line of Hustler mowers. These mowers are extraordinary. I posted many videos on my Facebook page riding the Dixie Chopper Silver Eagle. I love it. They've also introduced a new line of mowers at Grass Monsters KC, the Hustler mower made in Kansas. Now, they literally are selling out of these things. The spring is going to be ending here. The summer is beginning. If you're considering getting a mower, do not go to the big box stores where the crappy mowers are chained up out in front of the store. Go get an American classic. Get a Dixie Chopper. Get a Hustler. GrassMonstersKC.com. GrassMonstersKC.com. Also want to thank Red Maryland, RedMaryland.com for sharing my podcasts. I've been invited by the Republican Party of Maryland to come and broadcast for the Republican convention. I want to try and make it out there, sell some of the new swag, the politically incorrect swag that we are running. It's called Conservatees with a T-E-E-S on the end. Conservatees, you can see that at tpublic.com, tpublic.com. And, of course, the Facebook page is at Rob Carson Show. Website is robcarsonshow.com. And on iTunes, just go to The Rob Carson Show. iTunes, The Rob Carson Show. Have a blessed day. We'll be back for episode number 77 of the Rob Carson Show podcast very soon. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.